Would you have imagined this man who thought he was just going to be in a regular game show actually ended up being locked away in a room for 15 months, in which 17 million viewers watched his everyday actions, and no, this isn't an exaggeration. This actually happened. But wait, there's more. How about this show host who kisses children and makes inappropriate references to them? And finally, what if I told you that these two contestants were serial killers at the time of their show appearance? In this video, we are going to be looking at the most unsettling game show moments. Susunu Denpa Shōnen was a game show that challenged contenders to their absolute limit. The show had multiple contestants throughout its 4 years existence. However, probably the most well-known contestant was a man named Nasubi. At the time, Nasubi was a struggling comedian and was looking for any sort of fame. He was chosen to be on the show after being selected from a raffle for a contest titled A Life of Prizes. After winning, he was brought into the game show room, which was a single room that contained a pile of magazines, water, a toilet, and a gas burner. To make things even worse, the producers asked him to remove his clothing. Not sure why they would ask such a weird request, but let's carry on. Now, in order for him to survive and escape from the room, he would have to earn 1 million yen by entering in mail and sweepstakes that were found in the magazines. Seems easy, right? Well, actually no. In his first month alone, Nasubi entered 5,700 sweepstakes and gained little in return. You can only imagine how bored and just tired and desperate he was at this point. I mean, his chance of gaining anything, like food, entertainment, whatever he wants, is to do a bunch of these mail-in sweepstakes. And since they are low chances, obviously no one's gonna win. However, he did gain some somewhat valuable prizes that would keep him entertained, such as he got a stuffed animal named Sensei, he got a PlayStation, and even a bicycle. After 335 days, Nasubi eventually reached his goal of 1 million yen, and his success made a ton of headlines at this point. He was becoming a star in the making as he wished for. He had a ton of supporters and the media obviously loved him. But there was a downside to this, as the producers took note and decided to keep profiting off him. Yeah, this is where things get way worse. The producers of the show wanted to keep him as a contestant, and so they brought him to a new location in South Korea and took him to another similar apartment. This time, he had to win enough money to afford a plane ticket to return home. I mean, at this point, I just feel bad for him. Imagine winning, and then the producers are like, no, actually you didn't win, we're gonna take you to another country, and you're gonna have to buy your own ticket home, so good luck. That's basically what they did to him. Something that should also be mentioned is that Nasubi's life was going to be live streamed entirely, and of course the producers of the show did not tell him about this at all, so this would eventually lead to even more problems. As mentioned before, he had so much hype around his name that the producers allowed the audience to view a live stream of him with a total audience of around 17 million users. In a new location, he reached the monetary goal in just 2 months. So now does he get to leave? No. The producers explained that he had to earn another 9,000 yen to upgrade his plane ticket to first class. This goal was once again reached in a couple of weeks after winning a couple of valuable prizes. Now this time he was actually free, as the producers brought him back to Japan and blindfolded him once more. He was then taken into another room, which was revealed to be a giant present inside the TV studio. After a countdown, the walls collapsed and Nasubi was finally exposed to the outside world for the first time in 15 months. I just feel so bad for this guy. Just look at his reaction when the walls collapsed and he's in complete shock, like he did not know this was happening at all. I'd be so mad at this point because they were live streaming him the entire time. So that meant, in probably one of his hardest mental challenges of all time, he was being watched every single second of the day, which, I mean, I don't know why people watch this anyways, but you do you. So now you're probably wondering, where's Nasubi today? He's currently an actor/entertainer and has managed to climb Mount Everest. In an interview, he was asked about his experience, in which he responded that he was grateful for the opportunity that he was given and that the producers of the show have apologized to him. All I gotta say is I respect this guy a ton for not latching out at the producers, because bro, I'm just saying, if this was me, the lawsuits would have been crazy. Just Like Mom. Just Like Mom was a Canadian game show that has definitely sparked controversies throughout the years. The show's format was pretty simple. The goal was to determine which child and mother knew each other the best through answering and matching questions, in which the children are asked 2 questions while the mothers are backstage. After responding to the questions, the mothers come back and are asked the same questions and are rewarded points if answered correctly. There's also another segment to the show which consists of a bake-off challenge, where the kids have 60 seconds to bake something for their mothers. They then have to do a taste test and determine which one their child baked. Whoever ends up with the highest score gets to spin a wheel with the hopes of winning a trip to Disneyland. This seemed pretty normal, right? Well, the actual game show itself wasn't the problem. The hosts were. It was originally hosted by Stephen Young for the first season, but he left after that due to unforeseen reasons. Stephen did show some signs of inappropriate actions, and I do believe that some people do give him a pass because of how horrible the other host was, which was Fergie Over. Don't get it twisted though, in the end you're gonna see that both hosts were monsters. Something to keep in mind, that the creator of the show, Catherine Swing, was Fergie's husband at the time and also hosted with him. Just so you guys are aware, I'm going to show both clips of Fergie's and Stefan's inappropriate actions, but be warned, it will probably make you uneasy.
Are they? They're not blue. Now don't tell me that. Look at me a little closer. They're green. You don't kisses, Jennifer? Okay, we've got Stephanie and Lorraine here in the big family kiss. I couldn't get that kiss earlier. Oh.
Baseball player. Guy, baseball player, turn around, bow. Oh. A little kiss, give me a little kiss for the bow. Okay, a little bow. Oh,
Now, by just looking at both the kids' and parents' reaction, it's clearly shown that they're uncomfortable. Just look at the reaction whenever Fergie goes near them and leans in for a kiss. He would also weirdly compliment them and ask them strange questions. The example I'm about to show you that I found was he asked a young girl what she does on her alone time with her boyfriend. He's asking this question to a child, by the way, and just look at her response.
You got any boyfriends?
Yeah, one.
One boyfriend? What do you do when you're alone together? What do you do too?
Just talk.
You just talk? And that's all? You wouldn't tell me anyway, would you?
No.
No.
Everyone on that show, including the audience members, knew what was going on. The show also had a ton of silent and awkward pauses, and there's numerous moments where the audience shows no reaction to what's happening, almost like they're in shock of what's occurring. Not only that, but the endless amount of sexual references that were mentioned is definitely concerning.
Mom has decided she wants to be a Playboy bunny. What will Dad say?
It even got to the point that his wife even called him out during the show.
Have a hug and a kiss? Well, I guess you can't win the show then. If I don't get a hug and a kiss. Yeah, you hear that?
Just Like Mom ran from 1980 to 1985, which during 1984, Catherine Swing and Fergie Over would eventually divorce and go on their own separate ways. The odd and surprising part was that no one came forward, no audience member, no parent, no child came forward to address their experience at the Just Like Mom show. And till this day, Fergie actually hasn't been dealt with any legal consequences. Only one person came forward, and that was the producer of the show. However, she defended his actions.
Somebody did a clever editing job on a YouTube
awful.
video that has basically destroyed the man's reputation.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, Fergie was nothing like that. Obviously, he, you know, it's an edit, and you called it correctly. He was friendly. He was warm. He's loving. His young daughter was on the set all the time. No, I mean, that is not what they made out of that. I was shocked, and believe me, I would have, reported it. I mean, I think when I was working there, I was like 20.
After the show, he continued on and worked as a broadcaster and dugout reporter for the Toronto Blue Jays. In the end, both Fergie Over's and Stephen Young's actions were absolutely disgusting. But on the bright side, there hasn't been any sexual behaviors towards children on game shows like this since Just Like Mom. The Dating Game. The Dating Game was a game show that sounded exactly what the title states. The original format of the game had a bachelorette that would question 3 other bachelors who were hidden from their view. At the end of the questioning period, the bachelorette would choose to go on a date with one of them, with all the expenses being paid by the show. On special occasions, celebrities would appear on the show and would play the role as the bachelorette. The show actually ran smoothly until a certain guest made an appearance. What seemed to be a normal episode would eventually turn into one of the most memorable episodes on a dating game.
Skydiving or motorcycling, please welcome Rodney Alcala.
This is Rodney Alcala, aka the dating game killer. At the moment of the show, no one knew that he was a serial killer and registered sex offender. Rodney did end up winning the competition and a date with the episode's bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw. However, she refused to go on a date because of his creepy persona, and she even explained that she never wanted to see him again. It's a great thing that she didn't follow through with the date, because what you're about to hear about all the horrible things he did to the children and women is insane. His first victim was Tali Shapiro, who was arred and beat, but luckily managed to survive. 3 years later, he was recognized thanks to an FBI poster and was arrested and charged for assault since Shapiro's family kept her from testifying. He would only spend 3 years behind bars, but would soon spend another 2 years for assaulting a 13-year-old girl. Something that should also be mentioned is that Rodney is a self-proclaimed photographer, meaning that he would constantly go out in public and just take pictures of random people. People were fine with it because he looked like a photographer, so they were like, oh okay, this guy seemed normal. Little did they know, Rodney would often take pictures of his victims, which eventually led to the authorities discovering that he owned CP. Let's just take in the fact that all of this was done before he made an appearance on the show, meaning that a simple background check could have prevented him from appearing on it. He would continue his killing spree after making his appearances on the dating game and has been linked to murdering up to 9 known victims. However, it's reported that he has murdered up to 100 victims, as the authorities managed to find all of his pictures. In 2010, Rodney Alcala was sentenced to death for his murders and was later sentenced an additional 25 years to life in 2013. As of 2021, he died by natural causes on death row and marks the end of his malicious actions. After reading and researching about all the inhumane things he committed, it just makes you wonder, what would have happened to Cheryl Bradshaw if she followed through on a date? It's definitely a big what if scenario, but in the end, he can do no more harm to anyone else. Bullseye. Bullseye is a British dart-themed game show in which contestants compete for cash prizes by answering trivia questions and playing dart rounds. In May 1989, the Bullseye game show featured a guest by the name of John Cooper, who will always be remembered.
It's the place to do it down there, isn't it?
Oh, we've got the coastline.
Because is it the mountains are sort of inverted and you've got all these...
Well, we've got the deep water where you can sort of...
Prior to his appearance, John Cooper also had a criminal history. By the way, could have been seen with a simple background check, but I guess game shows in the 90s did not care. They did not care at all. 4 years before his appearance, he targeted Richard and Helen Thomas, in which he would shortly burn down their farmhouse and eventually kill them. A month after being on Bullseye, he would shoot both Peter and Quenda Dixon at point-blank range after robbing them for their money. 7 years later in 1996, he attacked 5 children, even assaulting and R-ing 1 girl, in which he would then go on a burglar spree and target another 30 victims. John Cooper was eventually sentenced to 14 years in prison during 1998 for robbery and burglary, but he was released in January 2009, and only a couple months later in April, the police carried out a cold case review and were able to identify him as the murderer for other cases. In May 2011, he was charged for his double murders and sexual assaults, which led to a life sentence. Regarding this case and the previous one in which I talked about Rodney, my only question is, why would these guys go on very popular game shows and just expose themselves? I mean, think about it. Eventually they would get caught, and in these cases they did. The only reasoning that I could think of was maybe they wanted to flex about it. Oh, like, look at me, I killed people and I committed crimes, but I'm still on a game show and not in jail. Ah! yeah, like, that's the only reason I could come up with, but what do you guys think? And that wraps it up. To those who stayed to the very end, I appreciate you watching. Please let me know in the comments what I need to improve on. Give me some criticism, as I always appreciate it, and I'm always eager to become a better creator. Also, I want to thank you guys for helping me reach 14,000 subscribers. I always tell you guys this, but I always gotta keep reminding you. You guys are amazing. You guys are literally changing my life, so thank you. I also have a Discord server for this channel if you guys wish to join. Well, I'll leave the link in the pinned comment and in the description. On the server, you can help me decide what topics I should make videos about, and I leave a bunch of behind the scene footage regarding my next video. We also recently reached 100 members, and the server is becoming way more active, so if this interests you, please consider joining. But yeah, that wraps it up for today's video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great one.